Welcome back to the Something in the Wilderness podcast. We have a very special guest on the pod today. As you know, next month, about 2,000 Andrew McMahon fans will journey down to Miami, where we'll get on a cruise ship and enjoy 4 days of shows, sunshine, and festivities. So today, of course, we're talking about the upcoming Holiday from Real cruise. And I thought it would be helpful to learn a little bit of the background of these cruises, these music cruises in particular, what to expect if you're going, maybe some helpful tips will come up. But even if you won't be on this ship, maybe you'll find something in here that's interesting to you. So we'll have some fun today and learn a little something. But again, I brought a special guest to help us out. So get ready for a behind-the-scenes perspective on what it takes to put something like this on and hear about what we're getting ourselves into. So joining me today is Sixthman Heather. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Hi, thanks so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. As you may or may not know, I'm a longtime Andrew McMahon fan. I have followed him for over 20 years. And in fact, when another Sixthman cruise, the Rock Boat, announced that he was going to be on the ship for apparently a second time back in the 2021 Rock Boat, I had to jump on that ship. So that was my first experience with a Sixthman cruise. My wife and I went and we fell in love with the whole vibe of a rock music cruise, which we were not privy to before that. Usually on the show, we focus on a single song each episode, but then we do some bonus episodes that are related to, these special events, usually shows, tours, or in this case, the Holiday from Real. So I'm going to let you start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your position with Sixthman is?
Sure. I am Sixthman Heather. I am a community experience specialist here at Sixthman. And that means that I basically focus on everything that is guest experience on the ship related. So I work on all of your activities, just the fun things that we're going to do on the ship. I work on your communications just to make sure that you're fully prepared by the time we get going and we get on board. And I also work in the Facebook group. So I know a lot of people will already know me from there. I live in Atlanta where we are based, and I have 2 dogs and a husband. And so we have a good time here.
Awesome. And were you at the happy hour for the Atlanta show recently on something corporate tour? Is that right?
I sure was. I was there with Renee, who works with Andrew's team. So we were both there representing.
Oh, very cool. So I just got a chance myself to go to a few of those shows on the out of office tour, and I made it to one happy hour up here in the Midwest. It's a very exciting time as an Andrew McMahon fan, as everybody knows. There's a lot going on between the Something Corporate out of office tour and the upcoming cruise, and who knows what else they've got planned for us. So how did you get involved in Sixthman? Like, what's your Sixthman origin story?
It was just kind of random. I used to work at Zoo Atlanta for several years, and one of my coworkers, her husband works here, and she was telling us about their Christmas party, how they got to go on a yacht
Oh,
and
wow.
had artists. We don't get to do that anymore.
Okay.
This is when the staff was about like 30 people. But I was like, that's really cool. I want to work there. And then she starts telling me about how it's a dog-friendly office. And I was like, also awesome.
Yeah.
So I just kind of started looking into it. I ended up getting a job after that working in corporate events for a couple years. And then once I had that experience under my belt, this job came open and I applied, and I guess they liked me. I presented a Kelly Clarkson cruise, which was never an actual concept. We just have to present something.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that's part of the interview process. You
Yeah.
pitch something.
Yeah,
That
we
is
pitched
fun.
like basically what we plan
Uh-huh.
in our job space. We pitched that in our job interview. So I pitched a Kelly Clarkson cruise and beading and bellinis and lots of fun things. And I guess they liked it. So they hired me.
That's amazing. But no Kelly Clarkson cruise, right? Not yet?
No,
Not
no.
yet.
Like I said, it wasn't a real concept. It
Yeah.
was, to have something to do. It would have been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that was in 2019.
So everything you've said about your job and everything I thought I knew prior to us talking, I want your job too. And I think everyone else probably that goes on these cruises feels the same way. I'm looking forward to learning more as we go along today and what it is that you do and how you plan these events and how you implement them on the ship mainly. And thank you for answering all of our annoying questions on the Facebook group. We really appreciate it. You are so kind. You are truly so generous and kind with our questions, because I know a lot of them get repetitive. You got everybody on there. You've got people who have been on 10 six-man cruises, and you've got someone who's never been on a cruise ship in their life. So you get everything, and I just appreciate that. from you.
Yeah, and I know the answers, so it's totally cool.
Yeah.
And 88% of the ship is new to Sixth Man. So we have almost a full
Wow.
ship of new cruisers. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and that's literally what I'm there for. I'm there to help answer questions and just get you guys all prepped to get on the ship.
You did say 88%, right?
88%. Yep.
That's incredible. I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah.
Wow. So, do you happen to know what a typical rock boat returner percentage is?
Oh yeah, that one's like 80% return.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So that's an incredibly different vibe, I would guess, because you've got your new cruisers versus people who go every year. So this will be different. But
Mhm.
what I really enjoyed about that 2021 rock boat, and by the way, I've stuck with rock boat. I'm going again in a few months. And what I really enjoyed is I think I read somewhere on that ship that there were 400 people there specifically for Andrew McMahon because you designate which artist you're there for on that cruise,
Mhm.
and 400 people had said Andrew McMahon, and it was just so much fun to be around so many. So when we heard about this cruise, my wife and I were like, well, of course we're going. Like this is going to be like 2,000 or however many Andrew fans. This is going to be amazing. What would you say overall the best part of your job is?
I think the best part is really getting on board and just you're giving people this really amazing experience, this vacation of a lifetime. And I think that like the stories that we hear, I know you were on the 21 rock boat, and of course that was our, first time on the rock boat after the bad times.
Yeah.
And that recap video has just people talking about how important coming on that ship, being with their found family. We have events that are, specific to a group of people that may not feel safe out in the world. And they
Hmm.
come there and they have a safe place to be together. So I think the most amazing thing to me is just bringing these groups of people together, giving them a place where like they feel like themselves, they feel like they're with their tribe and they feel safe. And creating those experiences is truly just the best part of my job and hearing the testimonials afterwards of what people have discovered and how much fun they've had.
Wow, I just got literal chills when you were saying that because I feel that when I get on that cruise ship for the rock boat, and I hope and think I will when we get on holiday from Real as well
Yeah.
because you guys do put a lot of work into it, and I just know this. I don't know you as a person until today, and but the interactions, the brief interactions with other men staff, and through the Facebook group, seeing your answers, it's just very clear that you guys take your job seriously, but also there's a passion for people and helping to make sure that they have the greatest time ever. And you guys seem to understand that people are putting up a lot of money, a significant amount of money for this experience. But
Mhm.
what we get in return is going to be so valuable, that experience that you're talking about. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So, on the other side of the coin, is there a harder part of your job?
I mean, for sure. I'm planning an event for 2,000 people, and 2,000 people have different ideas of what they want. And so, what is so hard is not being able to, find a way that makes everyone happy with a process. I think once we get on board, generally, like it's so much fun.
Hmm.
But a lot of times we may put out a lineup where it's great for some people and then some people, aren't excited about it. And the same amount of work goes into everything that we do. And
Right.
so it just is always, it like hurts me that I can't truly make the experience perfect for everybody. But it's just, with 2,000 people, that's just not going to be possible. But I mean, I just hope everyone always understands that these blood, sweat, tears that go into our planning is there for every event. And we are trying to consider every single person on the ship. So, at the end of the day, if when we come off the ship, everyone had a great time, then I feel great. But sometimes in that process, that can be, it can be hard to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, you said when there's 2,000 people with different opinions on what's fun. Yeah, a group of 10 people, 20 people, that would be difficult. Just
Yeah.
when you organize an event with your friends, it's like hard to make everybody happy. I cannot imagine what goes into that. So definitely want to get into that. What would you say is the most surprising thing? The most, like for people listening, what would be the most surprising thing that either you do or anything about your job that we wouldn't know about?
Hmm. Let me think. That's a tough one. What's the most surprising? I don't know. I think that the most surprising thing is like how much organization has to go into everything. Like there's
Mhm.
so many things that it seems like, oh, this is so easy. Like putting on, say a beer pong tournament.
Yeah,
16 teams, there's some tables and you're throwing it, easy peasy. But it
right.
actually, like, there's a staff there that has to run it, it has to fit into the schedule. We want to find an artist that we can connect to it. Then we have teams sign up, and then we send them several emails and notes on the ship. And then we have to make the brackets, and we, count down the brackets, and then a team doesn't show up. So, anyways, it's like even the smallest thing has so much detail that goes into it and so much thought. And I think that that can be incredibly surprising to a lot of guests when they learn that.
I think you're right because even though I'll try as a guest to imagine how much planning goes into it, I don't think I have any idea of the scale behind that. And speaking of what you just said, just as a side note, please show up for your beer pong competition or flip cup if you signed up. It's not fun for your teammates, or like you said, it kind of makes it hard on you guys when people don't show up. So if you signed up, show up.
Yeah, we will send you emails and notes and
Yeah,
everything.
you'll know. I love that. Yeah, we have a flip cup team. We didn't get in on the beer pong, but we're good with that because there's going to be so much to do on the ship. So many options. I mentioned it earlier. I just went to 3 something corporate shows in the Midwest recently. Had an absolute blast, like weekend of my life, honestly. And I think the Holiday from Real may be able to top that, which is pretty amazing. But were you initially an Andrew McMahon fan, or like, are you an Andrew McMahon fan?
So I would definitely call myself an Andrew McMahon fan. Now I was not familiar with him before Rockboat 21.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit older than the age demographic, so I don't know if I just missed that part of the early 2000s, living away at a restaurant for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I saw that pool deck performance in 2021, which if anyone was there, they know
Yeah.
it was incredible. And there's photos on the Holiday from Real website from it. And there's some of that in the recap video from that year on the Rock Boat. But it was just such an incredible show that I was like, who is this guy? Like, I need to get into this. And so after that, like when he comes to Atlanta, I just buy like I go see his shows, buy my own tickets. Like a group of us will usually go from the office. So I would definitely call myself a fan now, but it did take seeing him live on that rock boat to get to know who he was.
So I've taken a couple of friends. Well, my wife actually, I'll count in that group where I've taken people to see him in concert, and they're just like they come out, they're just like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing, and they become fans. My best friend, my wife, other friends of mine, other people I've met at shows. They just can't believe how good of a performer is and how he kind of pulls you into his performance. And the pictures were amazing. And I remember after that rock boat, probably like a year afterward, there was an advertisement I clicked on somewhere online, it might have been Facebook, that had a picture of Andrew riding the duck, and it was like Sixth Man survey, what you would like to see for future cruises. And I was like, wait a second, they're talking about a new cruise. Andrew's riding a duck. What does this mean? And so I don't know if that was at all related to the planning behind Holiday from Real or not. But I definitely filled out that survey. And Andrew, and to be fair, Andrew had put out his own survey like back in like 2019 or 2020 before everything blew up, asking if people would do a cruise or a destination. And I filled out that survey too. So I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition. This has been a long time coming for a purely Andrew McMahon fan cruise.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of what I'm calling the background here. So I've mentioned that I've been on the rock boat. I've been on it actually twice. I'll be going on it again in 2025. And it's just an incredible, indescribable experience to be on one of these music cruises. It's really hard to describe to people when I come back. And I know equally it'll probably be hard for you and I to describe that here on an audio podcast for people who haven't yet done it. But what would you say is the difference between what I call a typical cruise and a Sixth Man music cruise?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's completely different. So if you've been on a regular cruise, buckle up. You're not going to be spending time on your balcony. It is just like a completely immersive ship takeover. There aren't a question we get a lot of times are, will there be regular people there, like regular cruisers, not there for our events? And, no, this cruise is a fully chartered ship, so it will only be your people that are there. It's only going to be Andrew McMahon fans. Everything is fully immersive to the sense of branding out the ship. You can go on 3 6-man events in a row,
Hmm.
and every single one is going to be like a totally different feeling because
Wow.
everything is completely built around the community. So, we don't just cookie cutter, okay, we're ready for the next one, and it's like
Hmm.
exactly the same. It's just everyone is very different because it's, catered to the wants and needs of each community. So it's just like truly such an immersive experience. And that definitely differentiates it from a regular cruise where you're just kind of hanging by the pool, reading a book, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said as a guest. So we went on a Norwegian cruise as a family, and we knew that that's going to be a very different experience from when we go on these music cruises. And I like things about both of those experiences. But yeah, this is truly how I describe it is it's a music festival first, it's a cruise second. It's a music festival on a boat,
Mhm.
basically, is how I describe it to my friends and family when I talk to them. They ask, where do you stop? And that is relevant. I like the places that we stop and get off, but it's not as important as a normal cruise. To me, it's just like, no, what's going on? Like, what is this cruise about? What are the activities? And also, where do we stop in doing those activities? So I know your 6-man team has been working on this for a while, as I alluded to earlier. In fact, the fans officially first heard about this on 11/11 last year in, I believe it was Austin, Texas. It was announced at the 11/11 show that Andrew does annually. So I know it's been in the works for a while. So do you know where this thing began at?
I don't work in the kind of origin building space, but I can just
Mhm.
give kind of an overview of how
Sure.
most of our events begin. So I don't have a lot of detail there, but we have a team called the business development team. Basically, it can go two ways. They can reach out and say to an artist, a band, we do some like we did a Jay and Silent Bob cruise, which isn't necessarily a music cruise. So we have
Hmm.
some different things going on. So they can reach out to that team and say, hey, we're interested in doing a cruise with you. We think that, you have a fan base that would work here. Or it can be an artist reaching out to us and saying, hey, we've seen what you do. We think that we can fill a ship. We're interested in this. And so that can go both ways with Andrew. I'm not really sure how the
Hmm.
conversation started, but with him already sailing with us, there was obviously already a relationship there.
Yeah.
So with him having that experience before.
Yeah, I noticed some of the artists that have been on Rockboat have also been on other, like Sail Across the Sun, and I can't remember the names of some other. Emo's Not Dead is another recent one. I've seen there's some crossover, so it makes sense because you want artists who first like to be on boats and are good with performing on boats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably part of the deal, right? Not everybody's good with that.
Yeah, and we also have a talent relations team that work with the artist,
Hmm.
and their job is to do for the artist what I do for the guest. So they are making sure they're prepared, and we want the artist to want to come
Yeah.
and stay with us. We want them to want to come back. And so
Hmm.
I think that, as you said, since we have so many that sail across different events, they do a great job.
Yeah, definitely. How are the artists chosen though? Is this, so once we have Andrew McMahon, quote unquote, hosting, if that's what you call it, I'm not sure. How do the other artists get picked then?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things to go into that. We have a talent buying team who heads up building the lineup, and they work directly with the host team. So that would be Andrew's team. And that too can go both ways. Like Andrew's team can come and say, oh, we have this list of artists that we would like to come on. And our talent team can go and say, oh, we have this list of artists we'd like to come on. And then they can kind of agree on who, collectively who they want to reach out to. And then they reach out, they make offers, we see what lands, and it's like one of the hardest things
Yeah.
because bands are out on tour,
Hmm.
So where are they? Are they already booked? Do they want to be on a ship?
Yeah.
So much goes into building that lineup. And then the third part of that, which comes after a sailing, we send out a survey and we ask the guests who they would like to see on future sailings. And part of my job is to go through that survey and collect
Oh,
all of that data and take down like the top 5 artists that have been requested. And then that goes to the talent buying team. So they know who the guests want as well. So all of that is taken into consideration.
I am so happy to hear that because both rock boats, I filled that out and I
Mhm.
put Andrew on both and my dream's coming true here. So it just feels like a connection here. So
Yeah.
I did notice on the lineup that there were several artists that do have a prior relationship with Andrew. There was Jukebox the Ghost has done a collaboration song with him. I don't know if they've ever toured together officially. And then The Academy has toured with them, and
Cartel.
Cartel has played with them for sure. So it's kind of neat to see all that coming together. And I guess we'd like to think that Andrew has a say in it, and it sounds like he probably does, but we don't know for sure how that all comes together.
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day,
Hmm.
he is the final decision maker. So
Oh,
no
okay.
get booked without him saying it's okay.
Gotcha.
So
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. And that does make sense, right? It's if his name's on a cruise ship.
absolutely nothing actually gets decided. It all goes through his approval. So that's with activities, theme nights, all of that is completely done in collaboration with him and his team. So we don't make any decisions on our own as sixth man. Those are all approved by the host.
And I got to say, I do feel like the guests have a voice because there are some things that were suggested on the Facebook group that magically came to fruition. Oh, there's a karaoke night. Oh, we are having silent disco. Oh, Andrew's Rocktail Hour is back. So there are some things I saw and I was like, Six Man is listening. Very cool.
Yeah, so kind of our position nickname is warrior.
Hmm.
And I always think of it as to fight for the guest. So I'm always listening in the group and going to our team meetings and saying, hey everyone, look, the guests, look, they want silent disco. They want it. Like, come on, let's see what
Yeah.
we can do, and then of course that has to go through everyone and has to go through approvals, but I promise I take everything to the team. And yeah, and it's great when we can make things like that happen. That's one of the best moments.
Yeah, I do have a vivid memory of the Rock Boat 2021 where Andrew and several of his band members and his manager were dancing with us in silent disco. It was a lot of fun. So I think kind of the vote there came from, well, Andrew obviously enjoyed it, so let's do it again. So,
Yeah.
all right. Do you have any role in the scheduling, like how all these events that we're talking about and all the concert sets take place? Do you have any role in that, or is that a whole different team?
No, so it's the same. We have like a base event team,
Hmm.
but where it's someone in my job, someone that works with a partner, then there's a talent relations member and an operations member and a talent booking member. So we work as a core team together on all of these things.
Hmm.
And we do that, like that team stays the same throughout the year until we sail. And with the schedule, that started by one team member. And then once everything is set into place, because that has to be the person that knows all the artists, because as we especially know on this one, there are bands that share people.
Yeah,
So
yes, there are.
you can't put them up against each other. Sometimes we'll have bands that have the same crew. And so their bands aren't the same. We can't put them back to back because their crew needs to be able to. They may have the same guitar tech.
Oh,
And yeah, lots of things that go into
didn't think of
scheduling.
that one.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So that is set down by the talent buyer first because they know all those things. And
Hmm.
then after that, we have meetings, lots of meetings where we just kind of go through it. And, ops can say, oh, if these things are back to back, I won't have enough people to staff. So we need to move this. And then I'll say, oh, no, y'all, they're talking way too much about this band. That's too small of a venue. Can we put them in a bigger venue? And that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So my feedback really comes in on these bands are put up against each other and everyone's talking about both of them. They're not going to like that,
Hmm.
or once we put out the schedule, like we had Andrew's photo up against, can't remember what it was, Augustina.
Okay.
And we ended up moving things around a little bit because we got, I guess, feedback that it wasn't what people wanted,
Okay.
that it wasn't working for people's schedules. So it's a lot that goes into it. And my role is just to come in and say, I think that this works for the guest. I don't think this works for the guest. And sometimes that can be changed and sometimes it can't because of some of the things I just told you about. So
Well, if I've learned anything from my experiences on a rock boat in terms of getting to the shows, it's try not to panic. You'll see a lot of great shows. You can't do everything as much as I want to, and I struggle with that. And there's so many artists on the ship that I want to see that I'm like, well, I guess if I see one from each, I'm going to be okay with that. And you kind of have to be because, yeah, there's so many artists. I can't remember even how many at this moment. It's a lot to plan. And then there's these other these other events that you're talking about that we'll talk about as well that may conflict with an artist that you really want to see. So it's gonna be difficult as a guest. I can't imagine what goes into that scheduling, that puzzle. But you made some good points, and kind of I never thought about the behind the scenes crew that was shared, not only the musicians, because I was just thinking of it more as a, well, some of them might collaborate, because on the rock boat sometimes we get collaborations where, so and so will jump on stage with this artist, and that's really fun, and maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. But I never thought about the behind the scenes people who also have to put everything together and take everything down in between sets.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, a lot. And then there may be like a warm-up time where the stage, I get a lot of comments like, well, the pool deck stage is open from this time to this time. And I'm like, yeah, but that band has 8 instruments. So the line checks take a really long time when you have 8 instruments. So that's gonna, the stage won't be available. So, it's a lot of things like that.
right, and there's also a piano to push on stage for so
I
many of these
know.
sets this time.
That is our production team. We just talked about it in a meeting, like which piano is Andrew bringing? How heavy is it? Can it fill down elevators? That sort of thing, which, he's done it, we know
Yeah,
what to do, but
yeah, he's been doing it for over 20 years, and
yeah.
he's made comments in shows about it, about how people at the old Warp tours were looking at me like I'm pushing a piano on stage. Like, what's this guy doing? Like, who is this guy? But he's got his piano with him. But I've seen him play on a keyboard, and that's cool too. But it is kind of special when he has the full piano. So
I think Andrew jumping off of the piano is like the moment everyone's waiting for.
yeah.
So we can't have a cruise without him jumping off of pianos.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. As someone who just saw that a few times this past weekend, definitely need to see that. Apparently, he used to light his piano on fire. I know that's not going to happen. He's even said so much, like he can't do that anymore.
No, no, no fire on the ship.
No fire on the
Number
ship,
one,
please.
yeah, number one thing we have to avoid.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've already kind of covered. I was going to ask you to give. We're going to get into the actual, more of the cruise now. More of an overview of what to expect. Like when I walk on the ship, we've kind of covered a lot of this already. But when I as a guest walk on the ship, what should I expect to see, be able to do, getting around? Like what do things look like?
Yeah, well, in the terminal, when you check in, you're going to get a ship map that has the first day's schedule. And then there also will be some information on there, like where you can go eat. There's going to be a few places open. Not everything is open yet. So it'll direct you to like, where you can go grab a bite at that time while you're waiting for things to get set up, because there's a lot of setup going on during that time for our team.
Mm-hmm.
We did just add some open play games on the sports court,
Oh.
and we're gonna have beer pong tables.
Oh, for like just general play?
Yep, open play. Because I was like, y'all, they want to play beer pong. Let's do it. We're gonna
We
do this.
do. We
So
do.
yeah, so my
Thanks so
ops,
much.
yeah, my head of ops was like, yep, no problem. We'll set up tables, we'll put cups out. So y'all will be able to do open play with that. But yeah, that kind of gives you some direction there. You're gonna meet me when you come on the ship. I'll be standing there saying hi to everybody. And it's gonna feel probably a little overwhelming because it's big,
Mm-hmm.
but you have time. So you're gonna want to walk around and just kind of get your bearings and that sort of thing. Cabins don't open until 2. So you may hear that your deck is, though you may call over the loudspeaker that your deck is open and you can go to your room then, but not guaranteed until 2. So just kind of go and explore the ship and get familiar with it and check into your muster station.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you may not have heard of muster stations. It's where you go in the case of an emergency. You can go check in as soon as you get on the ship and just be done with
Okay.
it. No more sitting through, long presentations or anything. You go, they scan your key card, and then you're free to walk around. So definitely
Yes.
first.
Love it. All right. And then the sail away show, that's like the first big event, right? When we get
Mhm.
on? Okay. So we have plenty of time to kind of get acquainted with the ship before the sail away show.
Yeah, and so you'll want to head up to the pool deck for that. And before that, we will do a sail away shot and a family photo. So what that means is we pass around, a little shot. There is non-alcoholic available, absolutely. I know a lot of
Hmm.
kids are coming on this one, and just some people are spirit free. So we always have that available and hang on to that, because then we'll have a toast together, take a photo together from the pool deck, which is always a really special moment. And then we'll get going. So that's how we kind of kick things off.
Well, I hope everybody who listens to this feels the same way I do right now because I'm getting really, really excited, like even more excited than I was before we talked. So
Good,
this is fun.
good.
So I know there's no typical day for you on the cruise, but give us an idea, like what does your day look like on the cruise?
I mean, my days are kind of typical, but I mean,
Okay.
with things can get crazy, but for the most part, I'm up early. I go to bed late, so they're long, but I'm usually downstairs pretty early in the morning, just making sure, we have a meeting with the kind of ship staff. I don't
Hmm.
go to that meeting anymore, so I do get to sleep a little bit longer, like till
Hmm.
9. Basically, we get updates on if, anything's happening, what weather's coming, that sort of thing. If we know that weather is coming, then immediately we're kicking it into, oh, there's rain coming. We can't sail around it. We're gonna have to move the schedule around. We already have schedules set up for that, so we
Okay.
just have to start working on our communication and that sort of thing. So that can kick things in a high gear and get busy really fast.
Hmm.
Or if it's like, it's going to be the most perfect day, then, I'm off and bopping around to everything that's happening so that I can talk to everybody, the guests, get to meet everyone, make sure everything's running the way that it's supposed to. I take feedback the whole time. If, everyone's telling me, oh, this one thing isn't working or this one thing we'd like it to be changed, then I will absolutely we every day and talk about things like that. So, I always am working to make adjustments in the minute. So it's a lot of just kind of running around the ship, just making sure that everybody's having a great time.
Yeah, you guys, I know you guys are busy and you're surprisingly easy to find, I'll say, just in the way that I remember having questions on the rock boat. And they're like, well, there's a six-man crew member like over there. You can just go ask them. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow. And then they'll, in one case, he radioed somebody else and he was like, here's your answer. And I was like, wow, that was too easy. Like, I don't get that anywhere else in my life. So,
Yeah.
again, kudos to your team.
Yeah, so look for the crew shirts, and everyone should have a radio or a phone and be able to. Mostly, they're just trying to find me if you have questions,
Hmm.
and I always have a phone and a radio on me, so I
Hmm.
can always answer those.
Very cool. So you sound pretty busy on this cruise, and expectedly so. Do you sleep for like 3 or 4 days after each cruise then?
So yes, usually I do sleep.
Hmm.
But we have a lot of planning that a lot of things that happen afterwards too. We have meetings to debrief. The
Okay.
survey gets out. We start breaking down the survey. So there's still a lot. Like we are not done when we walk off the ship. So there's still a lot happening, but hopefully I usually have time to sleep.
So you're saying you don't work for 4 days and then you're done, right? You're like they're you're pretty
Yeah.
busy. It sounds like I believe it.
Yeah, and sometimes we may sail on another one right afterwards. I don't do that anymore, but I did when I was younger.
Yeah, you mentioned some other cruises that are non-music themed. I just gotta say here that my wife tried to get on that Hallmark cruise. Is that Six Man?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
thought so. Okay, so she tried to get on that one, but it sold out like in a minute somehow.
It is the fastest sellout in the history of Sixthman. Yes.
Wow. Okay, she'll find that fascinating, and and
Yeah.
and, and I guess it'll make her feel a little bit better, maybe.
Mhm.
But the thing is, it happens, I think, right before this cruise, so it all kind of worked out. She wasn't going to be able to do two in a row, obviously. So
Yeah.
then this one was announced, and all was well again. So
Good.
let's talk about sets. Many of our listeners have been to concert music festivals, of course, but I've been to concerts on land or festivals on land and on six-man cruises. So walking around a six-man cruise festival feels different. It doesn't feel crowded to me. It doesn't feel intense and stressful. People just seem more relaxed. Like what can you say about that vibe? Like how do you create that vibe on the ship?
Yeah, well, I think, and from my experience at festivals, I think one thing that is huge is that when you feel stressed or overwhelmed, you have a place to go and lie down in the air conditioning and use a bathroom that isn't used by anybody else. And,
True.
you have that space. So I think that that really helps with anytime you're overwhelmed, you have a cabin. Go take a beat, like, and I think that that really helps to keep that kind of chill vibe is that it is different because you're not staying in a hotel off grounds. You're not camping in a tent, in Tennessee in the summer. I went to Bonnaroo one time and just once. It was
Yeah.
so hot. So I think that, that's a part of it. And we have a lot of stuff going on at once. So we really try to make it so that there's not one venue that's going to be overwhelmed. And once your schedule is released and you go in and start building your schedule, we have that feedback. So we know how many people picked a show. And we can say, oh, 660 people picked this show. Maybe we should actually move something else up against it or move it to a bigger venue or things like that. So, we have a lot of feedback to make that relaxed environment for everyone before we get on board.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife and I have slightly different schedules on cruise ships, whether we're taking a typical cruise or a six man. So I think that's a good point that she can go to bed earlier if she wants to, and we can easily find each other later. It's not like she has to go wait at the gate like a regular festival, right? For the ride
Yeah.
home. She can go there. I can go to the bar. I can go to the late night show. I can, if she wants to get up early and go enjoy the pool deck, I can sleep in. There is a lot of that. Whoever you're going with, you guys can do different things, and I think that's a really important point to make. That you don't have to stay with your party all times because you're going to meet so many people on this cruise. That's the experience I've had, at least. We've met some really great friends on the rock boat that we now go on these cruises with together every time. So it's been amazing.
Yeah. And if you're feeling stressed, there's a spa.
Oh, there you go.
Go get your head rubbed for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
There's lots of wonderful things to do if you're kind of overwhelmed by other things. So,
So there's sets going on all over the cruise, and you're saying I heard you say that it's important, or you implied heavily that it's important that I go into my six man account and make my schedule so you know which shows I prefer, right?
yeah, that helps us a lot just to
Mm-hmm.
know, if something is going to be super packed. There's, always you can put all the shows you want to go to, and you're probably not going to end up going to
Yeah.
all of them. You may end up being hungry at some point. So we know it's not exact, but our ops team has basically like equations of if this many people say they want to go, then we need to maybe reassess things on the schedule. So it's
Mm-hmm.
great for you to go in and do that because that gives us a lot of information.
For example, I can't go to Andrew's Rocktail Hour and see Zach Clark in another venue at the exact same time as much as I want to, as much as I try. I actually talked to Zach the other night after one of the shows, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm up against the Rocktail Hour, so come out and see me." And I was like, "Yeah, I will. I will let people know that it'll be a nice, intimate show with Zach if you go to his show during that time." But I know a lot of people are there to see Andrew too, so it's hard.
Yeah, and I think the Rocktail Hour will be like kind of open, fun. So it may be that, like after a while, you're happy to walk down and go to Zach's show. And I
Mm-hmm.
have brought that up with the team too, that, people really want to go to that show. So, we never know what's going to happen. And, as we get closer to sailing schedules, we move around a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's always going to be conflicts, and that was more my point that you can't do it all, and that sometimes you have to pick and choose. But Zach hopefully will play multiple times. I'm not sure what the schedule says. I can't remember right now. And let's face it, there's going to be like several Andrew McMahon events, so
Mhm.
we're going to get our Andrew fix no matter what here.
I don't know when he's going to sleep.
I don't
Seriously.
either. I I was talking to one of the other guys in something corporate, Clutch, the other night also, and I said, "So, are you only playing the one show?" And he's like, "Oh no, we'll be around. We'll probably be doing other things. I don't even know what." He's like, "Andrew has a plan." And he looked over at Andrew. He's like, "Andrew has a plan." I'm like, "I'm sure he does."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I mean, Andrew just loves being with y'all. He
yeah,
loves being out with fans. So yeah, I
he
think he'll
truly
be
does. He proves it almost every single night. It's amazing. And like you pointed out, he's going to be doing that for 4 days somehow on this
Mhm.
cruise. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know when he'll sleep either. What can you tell us about theme nights? I know that we have pajama night, wilderness camping night, and Dear Jack dress up night. What's the vibe with theme nights? I know it varies per cruise, so it's a hard thing to answer, but what should we expect to see there?
Yeah, this being a first time, I don't really know what this crowd's gonna do. You've been on the rock boat where people get pretty into stuff.
Yeah.
So we always have a lot of participation on the rock boat, but I've done some events where people don't really get into it. So we never really know what to
Hmm.
expect, but we will, theme out some parts of the ship. We always like to do, NCL will take photos that you can purchase that are printed for
Hmm.
you. We always try and do a photo booth for that so that, people can kind of have fun. So definitely keep an eye out for that sort of thing set up around the ship. But yeah, we try and like kind of theme out areas, do some themed food that goes along with the theme night,
Okay.
stuff like that. There'll be some fun stuff happening, but it really is up to the guest. We don't want anyone to feel like they have to do anything. This is your vacation. So dress up if you want, don't dress up, whatever you want to do.
Definitely on the two rock boats I've been on, it's kind of a mix. Like you said, some people go all out, some people don't dress up at all. Either is acceptable, and there's nothing wrong with any way you go about it. I've dressed up for some of the theme nights. I dress up for the theme nights that I want to and I enjoy, and I have a good time with that. Dress however you want. I've thought, I like to wear my concert T-shirts to concerts, so I'm like, well, do I want to wear concert T-shirts or just in these themes? So I've got some decisions to make, but fortunately, none of these are serious decisions. These are just like,
Mhm.
it'll be fun either way, so it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it's just to have a good time.
Yep. Let's talk about the other activities then. So I've played in the Flip Cup tournament on the rock boat twice. I've been to the silent disco, but you guys are bringing a whole variety of other events to this thing too. Like we already talked about beer pong a little bit. I mentioned Rocktail Hour. So can you tell us about any of these events and kind of what to expect that are maybe different from what we'd normally see on a cruise?
Yeah, so I mean, they'll definitely be different because we do get artists involved with activities. So, I mean, some things like if we do a bingo, NCL will run that because you can win money and
Hmm.
they run those things. But
Okay.
usually we have an artist join in with things like that, which that will be happening with these. We'll have different artists that will be doing stuff with y'all. Like Who Wants to Be an Emo Millionaire was added recently with the gun show. So that should be really fun. That's not something that is done on a normal cruise ship. That's his own game.
On our
So
boat?
yeah, it was in a recent email we had added that to the lineup of activities.
Fun.
That'll be super fun. We have Andrew really wanted to do a beach party.
Oh, that
So
was an Andrew idea? That's fun.
100%. Yep. He was like, I want to do beach party. We're like, cool. So, we'll be setting up some games. I tried to do beer pong on the beach party, but it's too windy for the ping pong balls and then it becomes litter. So we couldn't do it. Sorry, guys. I tried.
Valid points. Valid points.
Yeah. But there will be like open play games and Andrew's going to be there. We'll have like the music system set up. So,
It feels like there's been a lot of questions related to the beach party the last couple days on the Facebook group. That seems to be
mhm.
like a hot topic right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I can tell you we have our ops team has been working so hard on that and just making it, I came up with a list of games that I thought would be fun and then truly they're amazing. They take it to a whole new level than because they know how to do it,
Yeah.
They know what can be executed. And so it really is just amazing what they do with those fun kind of activities like that. So I think it'll be a really fun time.
And for that particular day off the ship, Great Stirrup Cay, since it's owned by Norwegian, my understanding is the food is included on that?
Mhm.
Or, okay.
Yep.
And then if you have the drink package, drinks are included.
Yes. And then
Okay.
if you want to buy drinks, you'll just buy them with your key card like you would on the ship.
Oh, very cool. So we don't have to worry about credit card even on that island.
Yeah, everything will, yeah, it'll be just like on the ship. Everything will be through your key card. So it's easy peasy.
Oh, excellent. How about the Andrew Q&A? What can you tell? Do you know anything about what that's going to be? Because I was so fortunate to see the Andrew McMahon and John Foreman set on the Rockboat 21, which was one of my all-time favorite Andrew shows, to be honest. It was so unique and special. What's this Andrew Q&A going to be like? Is there going to be live music performance, or is it simply going to be just him answering questions, which is cool too, but
Yeah, so I haven't seen the run of show for it yet. I don't know if it's put in the system yet. But I mean, with Q&As in general, that one we're not going to have people submit questions beforehand, which
okay.
sometimes we do, but Andrew's cool with answering anybody's questions. So
Mm-hmm.
we normally just have a mic runner for that. Just knowing Andrew, I know he likes to play during those types of things, but I'll be real honest, I haven't seen what his vision is for it yet. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing again that, was something he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure that like people will get a chance to ask questions because we'll have a mic runner going around.
No, that'll be awesome. Looking forward
Mhm.
to that. So we've talked a lot about the cruise itself. I've got some questions for you now. Besides the artists on this boat, Heather, what are some of your favorite artists? Like if you got to pick a boat and put some of your favorite artists on there, who would you choose?
Well, we don't do this cruise, but if we did the New Kids on the Block cruise, I would
Yes.
have to be on it, but I would
Yeah.
have to have a keeper because I would just have a real hard time being around Joe McIntyre. That would be real hard for me to maintain my composure. But when I first interviewed for the job, they asked me like what kind of cruise I'd want to be in. I was like, why don't we do the New Kids on the Block cruise? So that would be really fun. I did actually, I was the lead on the Summer of '99 cruise, which was really fun for me
Oh,
because,
that would be so cool.
yeah, I graduated high school in the summer of '99. So,
Perfect.
it was a lot of bands that I really liked. Seeing the Verve Pipe was one of the most exciting experiences ever. It was so great. So that was a really fun lineup for me, just kind of, taking it back to back in the day. And I did the Jay and Silent Bob cruise as well because I was kind of the one of the only members of the team that was really watching, that was old enough to know
Yeah.
who they are.
I'm
And
a huge fan. So I saw all the View Askew pictures, movies back in the 90s to 2000s and beyond.
yeah, that was really amazing being able to work on that. It was, a new kind of field for us to do, so more of a convention style. So I had so much fun working on that one, and it was really great. And I got to meet Jason Mewes, which was
Oh,
amazing.
wow. That is so cool.
It was really awesome. I don't often get to meet the talent, just so everybody knows. I work for the guests and I'm there for the guest. Occasionally, someone may come into the office when I'm in there and I may get to meet them. And that's what happened with Jason.
Hmm.
But usually, I'm not around the talent at all.
So you're not like backstage partying with them in between sets, right?
Oh, goodness. No, I am way too busy and tired to
Yeah.
party with anybody.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my next question. So if you actually had a break on this boat that we're going on, who is the artist that you would have to go see?
I'd probably go see, besides Andrew, which I'm sure I will go to his sets. I would probably go to Cartel.
Hmm.
It's
Oh,
they
Atlanta, right? They're from Atlanta.
They're from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I actually know Kevin and my husband's known them, and I forget which album it is. It's the has the song We Were Born in the South.
Okay, so that's not Chroma. It's Cycles, maybe?
Well, maybe I can't find it. Anyways, there's a Cartel album that my husband, it is like our road trip album
Hmm.
that we put on every time we head out, and so it's just something that we listen to a lot. So I always like to see them. And when they toured with Andrew, I went to see them at Tabernacle when they opened
Oh,
for him last year, I want to say maybe.
yeah. I would have loved to see them open. We got a cool opener up in, oh, Hello Gone Days, right? Was that what it was for?
Yeah, it was for the Dashboard Confessional tour.
Okay, yeah. I saw Cartel back in 2015 do 10 years of Chroma. And so I've heard that they're doing a full Chroma set on this boat, which I am so excited about. But I got to ask the lead singer a question on Camp Wilderness recently, because sometimes Andrew will have special guests on his fan club. And I said, I'd love to hear Chroma all the way through, but you guys are playing other songs from other albums too, correct? And he was like, oh, of course. Like our other sets will be, a mix of everything. So, because I like the whole Cartel, catalog. I think they have 4 albums, and
Mhm.
there's so much great music in those albums. But Chroma is a highlight for most of us, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So
So,
yeah, I'm excited to see that. It's always really fun to watch them.
yeah. Can you tell us about one of the most memorable sets that you've ever seen on a cruise ship?
Yeah, I think one of the most memorable, this was my first cruise that I led. It's not the first one I sailed on, but it's the first one where I did this position.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the Keeping the Blues Alive cruise, six. So it was back in 2020. And it was the Buddy Guy set. And I
Uh-huh.
was backstage, kind of behind the stage. I was actually going to walk to take a nap because it was the only thing happening at that time. So everyone was on the pool deck. And I was like, okay, I'm tired. I can finally I'm go lay down for a minute before we have our late night, like our end of the day meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And Living Color was standing there, and this guy named Kingfish, who is just an incredible guitar player
Mm-hmm.
for Stone, they were back there and they started talking to me about Buddy Guy and like, saying, oh, look, see what he just did. That's how he signals to his guy, da da da. And I was like, I can't go take a nap. I'm watching this set of Buddy Guy, who's a legend,
Mm-hmm.
with Living Color, who are legends, and Kingfish, who's probably one of the best guitar players in the world right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I so I didn't. And it was really just such, it was a very, very cool experience. And like I said, I don't see the talent very much and I don't
Hmm.
really talk to them, but that was like a really neat thing that kind of happened that I just got to, experience a legend on stage with some other really amazing artists. So that was very cool.
And you never regret that, right? So when you choose those experiences, it's like you wouldn't have remembered the nap, and although you were probably exhausted afterwards, you'll never forget that moment. So
Yes, I'm glad I didn't go take a nap.
that's how I felt about my third something corporate show this weekend. There were moments I was like, okay, I went to Cleveland, went to Detroit, Chicago's a long drive, then I'm gonna have to drive all the way home. This is not a good idea, but I went and I was like, no regrets, absolutely not. I'm so
Yeah.
glad I did it. I'll never forget that. What's one of the craziest things, like music or otherwise, one of the craziest things you've ever seen on a ship?
The craziest thing. I feel like it should be Kiss. I mean, seeing Kiss in full costume and full makeup
Sure.
with confetti just raining from the ceiling because they can't do pyrotechnics, obviously, because we're on the
Yeah.
ship. And the amount of confetti is insane. It never stops. You're just like, how do they have so much on the ship? And that's probably just one of just truly the most incredible things I've ever seen is because it's so legendary,
Yeah.
and the fans are just having the best time. Like they're keeping the confetti. They take the confetti home and like keep it with their Kiss collection of
Wow.
the swag that they have. So that's my first Kiss cruise. That was really, and that was the first six-man cruise I ever went on. And
Oh
so
my
I was
gosh.
just, yeah, I was blown
What
away.
a way to begin.
Yeah.
Baptized by fire, not literal fire, but baptized by confetti
Yeah,
maybe.
never fire.
Yeah. Love that. All right, Heather, I know your goal is for everyone to have a good time on this cruise. So, kind of wrapping up, more specifically, and you kind of answered this earlier, and again, your answer gave me chills. But what are your end goals for all the work that you put in, you and your team put into this cruise? What do you want to see happen on the ship?
I want to see everyone just having the most amazing time. I want to see the smiles and the hugs and, you know, the new friendships. I love keeping up with the Facebook group even while we're sailing because people are posting pictures of who they've
Hmm.
just met. And oh my gosh, we're from the same town. We didn't even know, those kind of experiences. I just want to see all of that. And then when we get off the ship, I want to see that survey filled out by everybody.
Yep, 100%.
Everybody fill it out. And, I just love reading the survey feedback and just seeing, because people tell stories in that too. And they, really let us know what a wonderful time they had. And that makes my heart full.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many different priorities people have on the cruise. It's like on these cruises, of course, we want to see the music. Of course, we want to connect with friends. And you mentioned new kids earlier. I just got to go back to that. It just something you said just made me think of that. There are people that will be on this cruise that feel about Joey McIntyre, or if you feel about Joey McIntyre, that feel that way about certain members of maybe Andrew's band or other
Oh, yeah.
artists. I'll say to keep it general,
Yeah.
but it's just so much funny and like, oh, I hope I run into him and I hope I get to just see him in person and things like that. So there's just
And
so many different things that people are looking forward to.
yeah, and the great thing is you probably will. I mean,
Yeah.
the artists are riding in the elevators just like everybody else. They're
Hmm.
going to eat just like everybody else. They're going to see shows just like
Yeah.
everybody else. So you'll see them just walking around the ship with their families. And, that's one of the really cool things too, is that they make those connections with artists as well.
I'll never forget the time that Zach from American Authors just sat next to me in the hot tub and said, "How you doing?" Uh, and then his
That's
manager
cool.
was like, "Do you like American Authors?" I'm like, "Heck yeah! Like I just watched them. I go to all their sets. That's the reason I am going on this year's Rock Boat. Actually, is American Authors." So it was. I'll never forget that moment. Kind of mind blowing, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're just. And I also saw him at a show. He was just standing next to me, like rocking out, like I was to a show. It's just so cool to see other artists enjoying other musician sets. So.
Yeah, because they're there. I mean, obviously they come to perform,
Hmm.
but they're there on vacation too.
Yeah.
They have a lot of times they have families with them. They want to go out and enjoy the ship as well. They want to get off at the ports and have fun. So, they're enjoying themselves same as everybody else.
Yeah, it's very clear. Well, Heather, thank you so much for all of your time. We've been looking forward to this cruise for so long, and it's finally almost here. And thanks for giving us even more to look forward to here. I know I've become like 10 times more excited. If anyone who's listening, if you're not following the Holiday from Real Cruise Facebook page, I can't recommend it enough. Heather has been so generous and responsive with all of our questions. So Heather, one final thing. I've seen a lot of six-man cruises out there. The Rock Boat, Sail Across the Sun, Emo's Not Dead are some that we've mentioned here. And those are annual or maybe every other year cruises. Is it possible that Andrew's Holiday from Real Cruise could become a multiple-time event, or is this just a one-off?
I mean, it is always our intention for things to keep things going. So that's always our intention. So, everybody just stay tuned and we'll see how it goes. And just stay tuned, keep an eye on your emails and stuff like that. And we'll let you know when and if and when and, plans come together.
Awesome. And just like Six Man, Andrew takes our feedback too. So if you want to see another one, maybe just tell Andrew you want to see another one of these. So,
And he also reads the survey. So fill out the survey.
oh, excellent. All right. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with before we wrap up?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think we said it all. And truly, come join us in the Facebook group because I'm going to post everything you need to know in there. I'm going to post when we send emails in there. So you can really, stay up to date on everything you need to know if you come and hang out with us in the group.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.